Welcome to the Utility Security Podcast, your command center for all things utility security. From power plant warriors to grid guardians and even curious citizens, this podcast is your essential briefing on keeping up to date with knowledge and insights for securing our nation's utilities. Expert intel through interviews with security chiefs, tech wizards, and policy shapers. Tune in as we explore the latest vulnerabilities, industry best practices, and inspiring stories of resilience from the frontline heroes keeping our grids secure.
Hello, Monica. Can you tell our listeners more about yourself and more about Utilities United Against Scams?
Yes, I can. Thank you so much for having me. Yes, my name is Monica Martinez. I serve as the Executive Director of Utilities United Against Scams. Utilities United Against Scams was founded a little over 6 years ago and was founded on the premise that a lot of utilities were encountering issues impacting their customers. And those customers were becoming victims of scams. And so they got together, a small group of them, led by Duke Energy, and really just talked about how could they make an impact on education, awareness, and any efforts to kind of help thwart future scams. So that's really how UUAS came to be. Today, we are over 140 utilities strong across North America, both in the U.S. and Canada.
Thank you. So when I came across your organization, it made me think about the rapid emergence of AI and how it's really making things a lot easier for a lot of people to do things faster and cleaner. But unfortunately, that does seem to include the bad actors who are creating a lot more believable phishing emails and other communications. Can you talk more about how AI is making it harder for people to spot phishing scams?
Absolutely. And you called it out correctly. AI is making everyone's lives both a little bit easier and a little bit more difficult, right? And I think one of those things with any type of scam, it's really impersonating somebody else that is a company or an individual. And those impersonations with AI are becoming harder to discern between something that before we used to obviously know right away it was fake or a scam. With AI, they are able to communicate maybe a little bit better, typing it in using ChatGPT or others and kind of trying to figure out what they're doing so that maybe those common mistakes that used to exist in like emails, like you just mentioned, where we would always, one of those things we would point out are typographical errors, spelling errors. Now with AI and other things, they're able to make it seem a lot more believable. And not only for phishing, but also for, some of the different texting scams and some of the impersonations of individuals' voice and websites. So all of those things are becoming a little bit harder to discern with AI.
Geez, yeah, it sounds like it's getting more and more challenging. Are you seeing any other sort of technologies or emerging trends that are kind of making their way out there that people should be aware of?
Absolutely. One of the largest trends that we've seen right now is the use of what we would call search engine optimization scams. And so with those, we're seeing a lot of individuals going ahead and Googling information about their utility company. So maybe they don't have their URL on hand and they're just, searching for energy service or water service, and there pops a website and it looks credible. And so you click on it. But what happens is sometimes those might be prompted up to the top because they're ads, and those are ads that may have been purchased by scammers. So they're the top ones popping up. And unfortunately, those are usually there so that they are, able to gain information from the customer, certain personal identifying information, or even wrong numbers for them to call and, of course, give their personal information like credit card and banking info. So those are the latest things that we've really seen crop up is when someone uses a search engine.
It seems like, they're finding new and trickier ways to get at people. So I wanted to circle back and just kind of talk about what are the most common scams and tactics that are successful that are used by these bad actors that utilities should be aware of and really prioritize.
Yeah, I mean, I think the first one is really sort of these search engines or now finding things online where somebody might be impersonating a website, so these fake websites that are up there, those are there. We've started to also see where people might want to say they want to subscribe to new service. So you're renting an apartment and you go to you want to subscribe to a new service. There are some times that companies are sort of upcharging, maybe where a utility might only charge a minimal fee or no fee at all to get connected. Some companies are out there charging $100 for you to be able to do it, and they're appearing as though they're the utility company, but they're asking for all the same information, and they're kind of playing the middleman. So there's lots of different things that are happening, and I think those are more commonly online. Texting is still a real issue as well. So I think I would say the online user face is the biggest issue where we're seeing a couple of different scams, and of course, texting.
So another area where these scams are taking place is without the use of computer technology to some degree, I would assume, which is folks going out door to door and scamming unsuspecting utility customers. What are some of the best strategies for informing customers how to spot these scammers?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the best strategies really are to make sure to take your time. I think what happens more often than not is scammers try to pressure individuals into acting immediately. And so, honest businesses don't, require anyone to act with an immediate timeline to make a decision. Like your service is going to be shut off in 10 minutes, or you've been past due and you need to make a payment in 30 minutes. Those things don't happen in that way. And so it's that pressuring for immediacy and pressuring for personal information. And I think the other thing is really just kind of taking that moment and stop. You can always double check. Go ahead and look back on your bill, just hang up on the person and just say, you know what, I'll call back or whatever, just hang up and just, take a moment, take a breather, speak to someone else you trust, or go ahead and call the utility and just verify that they're the ones who are reaching out to you. And that's another way to go ahead and do it. And I think one of the other things is that, you can take steps to block unwanted calls and obviously, put yourself on the do not call list, those other things, and that can help mitigate some of it. But really, it's take a moment, stop, and don't be pressured into anything. And those are some of the best, words of advice, because once people do that, when they're in the middle of chaos of life, and you take for a moment, a little bit of time, that can really help you to be more on alert.
So from the utility side perspective, the utility company, their strategy should then be to kind of proactively inform their customers. Don't be rushed into transactions and fall for those things you illustrated so well there.
Absolutely. I mean, I think one of the things that we do as part of Utilities United Against Scams are sharing best practices. And, making sure that we're doing everything we can to inform our customers and also work to inform them in a similar manner, like the whole idea of kind of stop, take a moment. You're not going to be pressured into making an immediate deposit or payment right away in the next few minutes. Those type of things are common things and common threads that we share with utilities, all across North America. So it's when we can share that same type of information, that's important to really getting through. And I think the other thing is some of our utilities have some really good best practices, making sure they have good communication with their state AG's office, make sure they have good communication with law enforcement. That way, if they start to see a trend, growing of individuals being scammed, they can work with law enforcement who can also post out additional information. Like, beware, we're seeing this scam trending, and that's an additional partner in the effort. So maybe they're not following you on social media, but some people might be following law enforcement. Those kind of things are additional ways to get the word out.
Oh, okay. Are you seeing any sort of newer emerging technologies being used to empower utilities to better prevent scam attempts like this, or other organizations like law enforcement outside of social media or anything?
Absolutely. I think when we think about texting, as we mentioned, is one of those things where I think people are, getting more used to and signing up for texting. That's one way, obviously, using apps. I'll cite for one of our smaller utilities, one of the things that they do is they encourage people to sign up for texting if they want to be notified about issues like scams. So then if they start to see a trend happening in their service territory, they can go ahead and send an alert out. Guess what? We're seeing a higher incidence of scams happening in this way, and it's another way for them to be notified. So we're also trying to, utilities are also trying to use technologies in those ways. And obviously, apps. A lot of utilities have apps now, and trying to figure out how we can use those apps also to notify customers if there's a trend or other issues that are occurring on the ground, and using that information to do it as well.
Thank you. So I'll sum up this interview and ask if there are some utilities who aren't already working with Utilities United Against Scams, or need to find best practices. How would they go about doing that?
Yeah, the first thing that I would encourage individuals to do is go ahead to our website, utilitiesunited.org, and all of our information is out there. You can send us that information, and we can get you signed up and get you to become a part of our organization. Also, there's just a lot of free information out there. There's toolkits, sample social media messages, other items like that we think are very good tools to be using to help go ahead and reach your customers, to be able to help empower them to help fight back against scammers. We can do this all together, and the more we can do it in united fashion, we're going to be more successful.
Well, that's a great way to end this interview. I love that you all are working to unite people and create teamwork to really grow strength to combat these ever-increasing efforts to con and dupe people with scams in person or online, or text, and wherever it may happen. So thank you so much for all that you do, and thank you so much for taking time to talk with us today. What was the website again before we?
It is utilitiesunited.org.
Thank you so much. And have a great day, and everybody listening, stay safe and secure.
Don't forget to visit our website at utilitysecurity.com for exclusive intel, resources, and a community of fellow utility security professionals. Stay safe, stay informed, and stay tuned for your next mission briefing.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during this podcast are solely those of the individuals involved and do not necessarily represent those of Utility Business Media and its employees. It is strongly recommended that you discuss any actions or policy changes with your company management prior to implementing